to an understanding. Let's come 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 to an understanding.
Let's come to.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Let's come to an understanding. Back in the building.
So much to talk about.
Oh my God. What a week. What a week.
Trump's in India.
India's back on the menu. You know, a lot of the fans, I was at a dinner party last week. I met some fans.
Yeah.
And one of the fans, she said to me, I like the early episodes, a lot of India talk. What happened? You guys are kind of falling off on India.
Uh-oh.
We're going back to India.
We're going back to India. You know, it's got to be real. It's got to be real.
We're going back to India, to India, to India. We're going back to India. We're India. Because the leader of the free world is in India, and Amish's mother is in India. So let's start with who's more important. Let's start with your mom. Mom over everything.
Mom over everything.
Your mom is being detained in India.
Not detained.
I overheard a speakerphone call with you and your sister.
Yeah, no.
Your sister was like, "Well, that's why we have extradition laws."
Yeah.
Your sister was like, "If that's the case, then they'll send her back to Canada."
No.
So what's happening? What's going on?
I think it's a basic. Someone called the other day too, and they're like, "Oh, mom's in India still, eh? You think it's Trump related?" We're joking about it because it's like, it sounds to me. It sounds like someone wanted a little.
You think there was a bribe that was not delivered upon?
I think there was a time-sensitive issue where someone said, "Listen, 500 rupees, I'm sure it's fine."
And let's do the conversion to Canadian, some CAD. What's 500 rupees?
$2? I don't know.
$2?
It's always worse every time I do it.
No. $2?
I mean, we can look it up, but we're talking about like.
I'm gonna look that up.
Look, regardless, mom's got it. My mom's got it.
She can cover the spread.
She can cover it, but she's very stubborn, and she doesn't like to play ball sometimes. Sometimes she just says, "You know what? I don't need it."
So you think what happened?
Even every time I was with my mom in India, and she paid, because we paid lots of bribes when I was in India.
Yeah.
But my mom paid a bribe, and they always wanted you to do a little play with them.
Right.
Like they never said it's a bribe. They always said, "Hey, I got to pay for my tea. I got to feed my kids." They always do the bribe like that. They always do like, "Hey, I know you want to get across. I know you want to go to see your whatever." Like sometimes they'll just pull you aside on a highway, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's always something you could just charge a ticket for.
500 rupees is equivalent to $9.25.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'd be like under 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically what happens is the corruption, it's not flagrant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this new Trumpy kind of like, just give me the money. Like they can't they're still very respectful about it. They're still very like, hey, I'm just trying to feed my family. Like they want you to do a little play with them. Like I'm trying to feed my family.
Right.
I need to pay for a coffee break. I haven't had a tea all day. Look, can you just help me out? Like even when we were there, they'd pull us aside. They'd do a little thing. My mom, very stubborn, likes to talk her shit. Mm-hmm. She always gave him a little like, don't give me this shit about your family.
Yeah.
It's a bribe and you got bribed. You happy? Fuck off. Like she always had that
really?
attitude.
She was like, I'm not playing this Mickey Mouse show.
She doesn't play the Mickey Mouse.
You want to bribe me? Then bribe me.
Here,
okay.
500. Here's 600. Shut the fuck up now. Like that's the kind of bribe.
Wow, no way to make friends while you're getting bribed. They're gonna be.
She doesn't like it. She doesn't like it. Don't fuck with my money. I'm a Patel. She says I'm a fucking Patel, bitch.
So you
back up.
So you think what went down was she was at the airport. Her flight was like at the gate. And the guy was like, "Oh, the paperwork. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then she was kind of looking at him like, "Really? And he was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if maybe there's something we could do, maybe something you could do, but I don't know." And she's like, "Okay, no, I'll go to the embassy."
Yeah, I'm good.
She's like, "I'm gonna go to the embassy."
You know what? The weather's nice here. I think I'll stay.
So that's what's happening.
Freezing in Canada, and then hey, Trump's she's there. She's probably so happy there right now too. She's probably just quick to stay. Like I mean, she's staying like another month.
Well, what's her setup like over there compared to here?
You're a king. You go there. I mean, you saw the conversion.
Okay.
You're a king. That's why Trump loves
what
it
does
too.
500 rupees get you? What's my buying power with 500 rupee?
We're talking like I don't know exactly right now, but it's always shocking.
like you do the conversion. It's always shocking how little dollars it is, but then it is also shocking that oh man, you got to pay your rent and do that. Like they're getting it all done with it somehow.
With 500 rupee?
No, not 500. Like I don't know exactly the economics right now, but it's basically like the money's tight, and you know, it goes a long way though. Like it's tight, but it does go a long way. Like 500. I don't know what 500 would get you over there actually right now. It's hard to tell. I haven't been back in like 10 years.
What if I wanted breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Would 500 rupees cover that?
I think you're good, man.
Really?
I can't imagine like a full meal being
Like,
more than
like 3 square meals for the day.
I think so.
Okay, wow. And she has family over there, right?
That's the real important thing, man. We got family there.
So they're
that is
taking
just
care of her.
full time taking care of her. She's a senior.
Oh, okay. So
You know, she broke her pelvic bone.
she broke her pelvic bone.
Over here, it's hard to even get her kids. Like me and my sisters are like, yeah, I'm busy.
Her
We
kids,
can't-
meaning me.
meaning me. It's hard to get her kids to just drop everything, go hang out.
Right.
But I did have a lot of fun with her, though. I did find we had a lot of fun in the last couple of months. I mean, not to say whatever, but like after my dad passed away, and then she broke her pelvic bone at another funeral. But like we've been hanging out.
Right.
We're having a good time.
Yeah.
So I think part of her did want to come back and hang out.
Right.
But I think part of it was like, I think this is what I'm speculating. Now I did get a call from her
Okay.
right away. Like she's calling me every day. Like she calls every other day, every day.
Is it getting to be a bit much?
The calls? There's been a couple of calls where I'm like, I don't need it.
This is the woman who gave birth to you.
There's been a couple of calls where I'm like, I'm in bed. I'm like, I don't need it right now.
Oh, she's not respecting the time difference.
No, no. They respect it. They're like, hey, I'm giving you a morning call. And then my uncle's over her ear, being like, "Turn on the video. How come the video's not on?" My uncle's talking shit because he's like, you banging someone? You banging someone over there?
Oh, he thinks you're up to no good.
He thinks he's up there. Where's the video? Turn the video on. Like it's like they're trying to catch me or something. I'm like, hey, I turned the video on, and first of all, her video, dude, it's this. Like you're watching a video of my mom's forehead. That's what you're watching.
This is the Indian To Catch a Predator. It's just you not turning on video phone.
That's it. And dude, like they're nerds, man.
Damn.
And it is interesting because this goes right into Trump going over there. You can see the dynamic even with him and Modi.
Oh, like what do you mean? Like that Modi's a bit of a nerd and Trump's like the jock?
Trump's such a jock, dude. He's going over there.
By contrast?
By contrast, he's such a jock. He's going over there. He's like, man, Modi, you're great. You're great. I love the religious policies. I love the religious freedom. You know, killing,
no Muslims. No Muslims.
No Muslims. But other than that, I like the freedom.
Look at the freedom. Look at the freedom.
Look at the freedom.
They say, yeah, if you're Muslim, you're free not to come. So free.
It's freedom. You stay there. Yeah. So he's
meanwhile, in like the north end of New Delhi, you're hearing there's like clashes in the streets, like 10 people dead over like religious violence.
No, they're not going to get anywhere
so
close.
Free.
Yeah,
and they asked Trump to comment. It's like, what are your thoughts on like that? He's like, it's not really my concern. I can't comment. It's not my business.
He's like, hey, I'm here to get that money.
Yeah,
I'm here to set up hotel deals with the prime minister. He loves it. I do like that. At one point, did you mention this, or where do we see this? Where at one point he's like, I love the religious stuff. Love how you're into business, like that. Can we get my boy some pussy over here, huh? You fucking baby.
Yeah,
what's this celibacy
the deal?
shit?
What's the deal with Modi? Modi had a wife, but they never lived together. And then the wife is gone, or what? He got divorced, or what? What's the deal?
Classic Indian shit. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But it's called brahmachari, and I think he's an official brahmachari, even if he's not. But it basically means you're celibate. You're choosing to be celibate.
Okay.
Now, my theory on celibacy, no offense, anyone, trigger warning, but here's what I've always found. Anyone who's choosing to be celibate, high chance, I can only tell you just from like all the cases I've seen, high chance of a child molester. That's just what I'm saying.
Oh my God,
I know that's rude.
that is
I
I didn't know you were gonna go there.
I know it's rude,
This
but
is the Prime Minister of India. You're talking.
No, I don't
about.
think he's. I think he just
Your
does
mom's
it.
not out of the country yet. You can't be throwing that.
I know.
Around.
I can't throw that shit around.
Throwing that
but
around.
I don't think he
Jesus.
is. I think it's a political move that they do in India where they go, oh, I don't care. Even my dad was always like, oh, look at him. I'm like, dude, he is corrupt though. The corruption's there, and my dad's like, no, why would he be corrupt? He's not married.
Why
corruption
would that
is,
also doesn't make sense.
because their attitude is corruption is only to help your family. No family. No corruption. And it's like,
okay.
come on, man. That's how you know he's full of shit.
Well, what if you're asexual though? Some people are asexual.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you think you could be asexual?
Maybe. I do find it interesting that Trump, it's like Trump and Clinton, they were like, hey, I'm going to be in charge and I'm going to fuck. And then you got Obama, and then you even like absolute people with absolute power, like Modi, even Xi Jinping in China, very, just.
But President Xi has a family.
He has a family, but I'm saying they don't have this Trump flagrant, like, I'm just banging a model, and then I'm going to break up with her and date another 30-year-old model, and I'm going to break up with her and date another. Like,
right.
They have to keep in line in that sense.
You have to have a level of seeming like stability in your relationships.
Sure.
But okay, he was married and then he's divorced. That's kind of Trumpy though, a little bit.
No, but he divorced for like, I'm dedicated to the country. From what I remember. Correct me if
he
I'm
said,
wrong,
I'm leaving
people.
you for India.
Basically, yeah. Mother India is my wife.
Okay.
Mother India, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
No, he is selling himself as like. It's hard to tell with him. Even with Xi Jinping, I get into this debate with Dave all the time.
Yeah.
Who's my roommate and my producer, and it's hard to tell sometimes. Even with Xi Jinping, I'm like, we just heard Bloomberg say this too, where Bloomberg's like, hey, he's got to convince them, and then the person interviewing him is like, they were saying that he's a dictator, and Bloomberg is like, no, you got to convince, even if you're a dictator, you got to convince these people. It's weird. It's like with him and Modi.
I don't think you're fully explaining what happened with that.
I think
Bloomberg was on an interview a while back and was asked about China, and the interview asked him about the president of China, Xi Jinping, and he said, well, President Xi has to listen to his constituency. No one's able to run a country without listening to their constituency.
Yeah.
And she was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
he doesn't listen to anybody. He is the biggest authoritarian in the world.
Such an authoritarian. Like he
has
took
to
over.
Listen to his constituency.
Well, the footage of him getting voted in is really good because it's basically like he has the Congress, Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
They do a vote of like he basically says like, hey, I wrote this book called Xi Jinping Thought, and according to this book, I have to be in charge of the country now forever until I die, and the country has to operate on.
The Communist Party granted him that power.
Yeah, so they did a vote where they're like, who votes yes, and everyone voted yes, and then they're like, and then they did like a who votes no, and it was silence.
Yeah.
But then every couple of seconds, I think you could hear someone just like you could definitely hear yelling, but I think it was someone yelling like, who says no? Who says no? And just nobody put their hand up.
Right.
So that's a democracy, according to
according to Bloomberg. According
yeah.
to the future president,
Who said no?
Michael Bloomberg. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting though that with all their power though, they do have to keep up this appearance of like, and maybe they're just old and they're not interested in it. Maybe it's tacky for them to be like, I'm sleeping around or whatever, but. They both either got to hide it, or maybe they're not into it. I don't know what it is.
You don't think Modi has like some secret here and there on the low? He maybe does a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Maybe, and
you think he's just going home playing with a train set? Like, how's he ending his day?
Who knows? I mean, it is personal at the end of the day. I just generally have a mistrust of like. That whole I'm so dedicated, I'm such a good person, I'm so dedicated that I'm gonna no sex for me. I don't want sex and I don't need it.
I don't need any intimacy. I don't need a relationship.
I don't need love. I don't need intimacy. I don't need like a woman in my or anyone in my life.
Maybe he got burned. Maybe his last relationship was no good and he's like traumatized.
He's like, you know what? Mother India will never leave me. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe, but I always find that
maybe
a little
there's
suspect.
depth to him. Maybe there's a lot of depth to him that we can't. I thought he had a wife and kids just because I think they all do. Although I do think.
You mean brown people? Yeah, mostly.
Well, no, not just about any world leader. Like I do think though it's kind of selfish for you to have young kids and be the president because there's no way you can be that good of a parent. You know what I mean?
That's their mentality over there. And look at how the Americans are opposite. They're like, get married. You have to be straight and get married and have kids. And over there, they're like, oh, this guy's dedicated to being celibate. Sometimes I've seen some leaders do it, and you could just tell they're gay.
Right.
Some leaders do it, and you can tell that they're just corrupt and they're fucking around on the side, but they just say that they're Brahmach. Like they're the celibate thing.
But with Modi, you're doing the full Epstein.
No. No. And again, this is me being though.
Oh God, I can never go to
This
India.
is me being Gujarati and being a Patel, being like, no, maybe he's just dedicated to the country. But that's what I say about Xi Jinping too, and people think I'm crazy for saying it.
But Xi has a family.
Xi has a family, but in the other sense, like maybe he's just so committed to it though. Like he has a family. Xi Jinping has a family, but that even with that, it's like a very, like he's just. It's just a.
But the Communist Party is your real family at the end.
That's
of
the real family. Like Xi
the real
Jinping
family
has,
is the
he had one
the
divorce.
Communist Party.
He got married again, and it's a stable, steady relationship. With Modi, there's no relationships. But it's not this Trump shit where he's just fucking around. Or Clinton, like where they're just banging the interns.
Well-
None of that. Like not openly or like not.
Let's just go to this. Compared with Trudeau's visit to India last year, Trump only really rocking the yellow tie and not going in the full. I don't think Trump would ever go to another country and like do anything that's kind of like ingratiating or like you know, an overt gesture of trying to like respect the culture outside of.
But that bright
where he
yellow
stands.
tie, it says a lot. It says that he's making a lot of money over there, right?
Is that what that tells you?
I think it tells you that
But
he's making a
remember,
ton of money.
Trudeau was like in all the garb. Trudeau had the whole getup. His whole family. They're taking photos in front of the Taj Mahal.
See, Trudeau is doing it because he wants to be nice. I think that is
No, I
genuine.
think if the
always
brown
thought-
face thing taught us anything, it's also that man loves a costume. That man
He loves a costume.
That man loves to get dressed up.
He loves to get dressed
He
up.
likes to shake it up.
He likes to shake it up, and he loves.
He's a
even
costume lover.
And I did this on stage, and even when I told my mom, I'm like, man, this guy. People think it's racist, and my mom's like, what? He loves us.
Yeah.
He's trying to be like. He's trying to be more. To me, that the Trudeau one is like, and that's why nobody cares about it. It just came and went, and like nobody even really called it racist like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Trump, yeah, like he's not going to do so much to do that. But the article that you read before, it's like he's making his money in India.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
getting what he needs to get out of India. Like he's got these deals that are just like, they just sound like corrupt. Like they just sound like great Trump deals. Like when you watch the documentary about him, and he basically likes to go to other countries and
Well-
be like, hey, you can just like do whatever the fuck you want here, right?
After the States, India is his largest like kind of investment in terms of any like global nation. Like after America, it's India where he has the most amount of money. I think it was like 5 projects of like real estate condos and stuff, like luxury multi-million-dollar condos for sale being developed across the country. And it's again with this licensing deals. Like he makes deals with some people over there and then licenses the name. And
You're gonna give me $2 million to put my name on
yeah,
it?
Ivanka's over there doing whatever the fuck she likes to do. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well, she got a Vogue article out of it. That's tight.
well, they were kind of casting dispersions. It wasn't,
They weren't being nice.
it
to her?
wasn't necessarily positive.
They weren't being
no.
nice to her when
The
in
title
that
of the
article?
Vogue article is "What exactly is Ivanka Trump doing in India?"
Oh, okay.
It's a bit of an accusation on
I
that.
read it as like, what exactly is Ivanka doing in India? And then it's like a picture of her in front of the Taj Mahal, looking,
She's looking good, but
she's looking good.
well, get a load of this. Okay.
Okay.
So here's some select quotes. This is from the the Washington Post, not the Wall Street Journal. The Washington Post had an article a couple days ago about Trump in India. Here's one of the things. Trump partners in the ventures are M3M, which stands for Magnificence in the Trinity of Men, Materials, and Money.
I like how the magnificence, like
The
take out
magnificence-
magnificent. I thought magnificence was
M3M.
one of the 3 things.
That sounds like 3 guys I went to high school with decided to start a business. That's what they would title it.
Very tacky to
It's
have man.
We were eating poutine in the diner one day across the street, and we just thought about it. M3M. You know, the magnificence and the holy trinity of men, material, and money.
Yeah,
No?
yeah, like when these guys were in high school.
We sell diamonds, we sell cars, and we sell real estate seminars. This we do.
That's it, yeah. And in high school, they were like, "Yo, you just started a business called Get Money, Get Pussy Incorporated.
Yeah.
We're cooking coke out of my cousin's house. Like it's just
Exactly.
like these guys grown up, but it's a little more official. He's getting all like the corrupt kind of deals. It sounds like.
Okay, the latest Trump project in India is being built in the eastern city of Kolkata, described as, quote, inspired by the spirit of Manhattan extravagance. The project reportedly sold half of the available units within 2 months of its launch. So they like him over there.
Yeah.
They like him in India. In September, the developers of the Kolkata and Gurugram residential project organized a 3-day trip to New York for buyers, a trip that they called #Living the Trump Life.
And they sold half of the things in advance.
Well, that might have been another project. These are just some select quotes I pulled from that article. But yeah,
Interesting.
No. There was also this from another article from the Post. Trump has also reportedly imitated Modi's accents in meetings. According to Political Report, Trump offered to act as a matchmaker for Modi, a
That's the
longtime
one.
bachelor who was married as a young man but never lived with his wife. At one point, Political reported Trump appeared surprised to see India's neighbors Nepal and Bhutan on a map, mispronouncing them as nipple and button.
That's great. That is so cute.
But they love him.
He really is like a football jock. And
Wait, who do the Indians not like, though, who's outside? Like, they like Trudeau. They like Trump. I mean, who's a foreign? I mean, Imran Khan. Who do they?
They don't like him.
They don't like their neighbors. But if you're like from the West, they seem pretty chill that you're coming over and saying what's up.
Well, I've always said that there's a Judeo-Christian alliance that they talk about here.
Uh-huh.
The current government is working on a Judeo-Christian Hindustani alliance.
Right,
And they're trying
right.
to get
You
in on
mentioned
that.
that.
They're
Right.
saying, hey, we don't like Muslims. You don't like Muslims. Let's talk. Let's do business.
Right. Let's break bread.
Let's break bread. And that's too bad because you know what? You gotta be friends with the Muslims too, right?
Let's come to an understanding.
Let's
here.
come to an
Let's
understanding on
get
that.
along.
I mean, 100 years ago, if you said that Jews and Christians were going to be friends, people would call you crazy. They'd say it's crazy. Now look at them; they're best friends. They're
Well-
like holding hands in the park or something.
Well, here's
You have to bring the Muslims into
another thing that was sparking outrage was some of the food that they were serving to Trump over there.
Okay.
Because he likes a steak and a burger, right? Can't
Fair.
really do that in India. Not a lot of burgers, not a lot of steaks.
Here's the thing: when you slaughter a cow in India, there's some of Modi's guys could come after you. There's been a couple
Right.
of cases. There's been a couple of guys that have gotten killed, and that's rising. I think
Uh-huh.
under Modi's and it is one of Modi's direct guys. Now I don't
Yeah.
have all the information on this, but like one of his top aides is like and I was saying this about Modi being like celibate.
Mm-hmm.
And acting religious. His top guy, like that. This is a common thing in India. They act religious. They even wear religious garb.
Yeah.
But they're doing that's how you know they're fucked up.
Right.
That's how you're doing that's how you know they're doing the most fucked up shit.
Because they have a way to kind of absolve themselves of any of their sins.
It is kind of like a Catholic priest
Right.
being like corrupt and in with the cops. Like when
Yeah.
you watch Sin City, like the main
like
bad
God
guy,
will forgive me.
God will forgive me. I'm doing God like that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
there has been a rise in attacking people who slaughter cows. They killing the people who
Yeah.
have killed a cow. Now usually they'll go after the person. They find out it's goat. It was goat the whole
the Post
time.
is saying he's going to be served some Atlantic salmon, which I find weird that India's getting Atlantic salmon. Seems like a bit of a inconvenience. I don't know.
You know what? Maybe India's saying, "Hey, why don't you take care of yourself a little bit?
But they're getting Atlantic.
Why don't you eat something healthy instead of the burger all the time?"
No,
Like,
and goat. Atlantic salmon and goat.
okay.
That's okay. But then
The
when
goat
people,
makes sense.
people were freaking out though because on the snack menu, he was getting broccoli samosas, which apparently
That's what I mean. Atlantic salmon,
that's
broccoli
just not a
samosa.
thing.
This is Trump. This is the India being like, hey, we got a lot of business to do together. Take care of yourself.
Oh,
Let me get you some-
this is what you think it is. Okay.
I think they're saying, hey, can you take care of yourself? Okay, put some broccoli in the samosas. Maybe he'll like it. Maybe
It's like a
change.
cholesterol thing.
It's a cholesterol thing. You getting him to eat his
They're
vegetables.
worried about cholesterol.
Dude, they snuck his vegetables into a samosa. That's classic. That's classic Indian.
Was that a thing that your mom would have done when you were a kid? Try to get you some samosa broccoli.
You sneak the broccoli into
Yeah.
the samosa.
Eat your greens.
Similar.
Okay.
It's like anyone, right? You gotta get him to eat his vegetables. He is that's one way to get him to do it. I've never heard of a broccoli samosa.
Well, no, people were
that's never
freaking
been
out.
a
They're
thing.
like, "This is sacrilegious."
Yeah, people were upset about that.
They're like, "This is offensive. This is offensive to my culture."
It's you
You don't
put
have broccoli samosas.
peas and potatoes in the samosa.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do spinach and cheese. I've seen butter chicken like fusion.
I've
one.
seen Lebanese places do spinach and cheese.
Yeah, but that's a different thing though, maybe.
Yeah. Like Alibaba's here in Toronto will do a spinach and cheese.
Yeah. And no, it's interesting that they're trying to feed him healthy food though.
So
Atlantic salmon. That sounds
that's
like
what it is.
happening.
It's really a ploy to get him to eat well. Because I remember when Trudeau was out there, though, it was like a whole different thing. It was like a big photo op. Trump is just more there to. It's more he's checking in on his investments. It's seemingly right. He's like going over because they had the thing. What's his name had a thing about that. Patriot Act. What's his name? Hassan Minhaj.
Yeah.
Hassan Minhaj covered it. The Howdy Modi thing when they had the rally in Texas.
Howdy Modi is the hashtag.
Howdy Modi, but they brought Modi over to Texas to do the Howdy Modi Indian American conservative meeting.
When all these Republicans were like, he's like a young what's the main guy from the States? What's the one they love? What's their favorite president of a Republican?
Reagan.
They were like, he's like a young Reagan. He sounds like a young Reagan.
Modi.
That's what they said about Modi. He's like, he sounds like a young Reagan.
Who was saying that?
Republicans, they're crazy.
Average Republicans, like white guy from Tennessee, was like, he sounds like Reagan.
He sounds like a young. They were saying like basically his policies were just all business all the time now.
Business, anti-Muslim, yeah.
Yeah, he's very Reagan. It's Reaganomics, and they were very excited about it. I think some of them were tearing up.
It was beautiful.
I think it's just like Reagan.
It was beautiful.
My daddy, I wasn't here for when Reagan did it, but now I get to be here for Modi, I guess.
Well,
they loved it.
Well, that's exciting. We've talked India again. I just mentioned Trudeau. We got to go back onto him.
Right.
We were just watching the question period before we started filming.
Okay.
Where Trudeau is trying to defend his approach to dealing with the ongoing Wet'suwet'en rail crisis, nationwide crisis. You thought that he wasn't standing up for himself enough against Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives. You felt like they were walking all over him a little bit.
He always looks shook when they come at him.
Yeah.
And I guess this is what makes him a good person a little bit, because when you look at the really power-mongery, powerful people in the world, when they get attacked, they just laugh. Right. And he's like, no, I'm doing my best, and I tried to help, and we helped him as much as we could, and now we got to do it. Like he's kind of going that approach.
Well, I think this is his issue when you have taken this like centrist kind of like neoliberal approach for so long now, and now you have people on the right being like, we just want to make money, and we don't give a shit about the environment or Native people. Fuck you, pay me, right? That's all they're talking about. And then Trudeau's like, okay, well, we do want you to get paid. Like, that's like kind of his argument is like, we want you to get paid. But then on the other side, you have the left being like, you're not actually trying to have these negotiations. You're not actually trying to respect the land treaties. You're not actually trying to do all this. Then it's like, no, I am trying to. You can't have it both ways.
No, you can't.
You can't have it both ways.
So Jagmeet's on the other side just being like, you didn't talk to a single chief. That's important, man.
Yeah.
You didn't talk to a single person in charge that's supposed to be in charge. The fact that like they're not there is a bit of a protest to British occupation. Like, that's why they're not in the parliament.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about when you see a lot of it.
The native
chiefs
aren't in parliament?
The chiefs are like, no, I'm the leader of my land. Like, I'm not going to go play your stupid shit.
Well, that's so crazy. There's one woman who's in I forget who, some dopey motherfucker from Alberta who's being like, do you want Alberta? Threatening to leave the country. Threatening to succeed.
She was bringing the heat, though. She was bringing the heat
like,
for these conservatives.
200,000 jobs in Alberta. Okay, listen, Alberta. Again, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. If you'd like to go, by all means, please. Quebec. I love you. Quebec, please stay. Alberta. Ta-ta. It's okay. You're a blight. You're embarrassing. You're honestly like
the Wexit movement.
You're like a family member who shows up and everyone's like, oh God. It's like he's here. He's here. Okay, everyone, be polite. But you're gonna say some wild shit at dinner. You're gonna be offensive.
Yeah, it's like the Trump supporter uncle at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's who you are.
That's our Alberta's always been our conservative, our oil.
Go ahead, please be on your way.
Well, I mean, Paul Krugman was talking about this with Wolf, that other debate that we saw.
You got to set that up.
We were talking about the debate. I am setting it up. Okay. The debate with Paul Krugman and is it Richard Wolf on Democracy Now?
Yeah, Richard D. Wolf.
And they were talking about this where it's like these people. I mean, his new book is called Paul Krugman's new book is called Arguing with Zombies, and that's what it feels a little bit like with conservatives defending oil. Is like they just don't see any other way. And I see your sentiment of like if you want to go, but also I think we got to just start convincing them that like there might be more money in not doing oil because they're convinced that this is the only capitalist way, the oil. But the oil, they never use all of the expenses. So the environmental damage, like if you don't count environmental damage and government subsidies and like Middle Eastern politics with the American oil industry, then oil is profitable. But once we take it all into account, I don't think it's good capitalism. even. And I think that might be the thing that they
well,
got to
they're
be.
saying that the economic impact from climate change will outweigh whatever gains we're making in the short term, in the long term. But this is like death cult mentality, and especially if someone is just trying to run for office and appease like a constituency and a base in their own region where they're trying to make as much money as they can while they still can before the shit truly hits the fan. It's like fine, but you don't represent the greater good of society. You're representing selective interests, and if you feel you need to leave, go ahead. To be fair, though, I am being a bit inflammatory because I do. It's mostly from when I would have to go visit my uncle and aunt in Calgary as a kid, and I could never get. The city was one big Mississauga to me. I couldn't handle it. It was. Maybe I should go as an adult, but I really had no love for Alberta.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn to love it. But when I see this stuff, it takes me back. It takes me back to like cul-de-sacs and like stucco houses and people eating in strip malls.
You have an aversion to conservatives, I think. You just have an aversion. You're judging them. You
I'm
look
not a
down on
fan.
them.
Well, no. I'm
You're
not
saying get
looking
the fuck
down.
out of my country.
No, I'm saying if you want to go, go. No love lost.
No love. There's no love for you. in
No
the
love
first place.
lost. No love lost.
It's
No.
weird. It's you know why it's harder for me to do it, and this goes back to the Modi thing. Is as a Patel,
Yeah.
I mean, the views are the same. It's just brown people doing it, so it doesn't look racist.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the views of like.
Albertans? Or not all Albertans. By the way, hashtag not all Albertans.
No, not all Albertans. I mean, we generalize a lot, but it's the only way to have a real conversation. But it's basically, to me, what we're talking about sounds like a general conservative mentality. And the conservative mentality, I'm including in that capitalism. And this is why Paul Krugman's new book is called Arguing with Zombies, because it is like a small, tight group, the conservatives, I'm generalizing, but like they're into capitalism, they're into oil, they want their family, their religion, and now and it's making slow progress. Religion has now become, it used to be maybe only mine, now it's becoming, okay, the Hindus are okay, the Jews are fine, you know what I mean? It's like slowly they're becoming more open-minded in that sense, but there's still like an anti-Muslim attitude about it.
Right.
There's still like if you're worried about the climate, what are you, stupid? Like that's a conversation that's impossible to have with people sometimes, where I'm like, you're just stuck thinking that this is the only way to do it. All the problems that you're bringing up with the environment, that's all job opportunities.
For sure. I mean, if you look at the proposals for the Green New Deal, they want to put money into renewable energy. They want to create a whole new sector of the economy while phasing out an older one. So you're going to have two going at the same time, right? If Bernie Sanders gets elected, it's not like you can't drive to work the next day. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to get inaugurated and be like, all right, we're taking the cars.
That's it. No more
We're
cars.
shutting down the BP station. No. He's not ridiculous, but he's going to say, okay, we're going to start building in more infrastructure so that we can move away from this. And then in the long term, you're not spending that much money on energy, that this is a public utility. You're not paying these gas companies, that there's ways for, money to be generated and a new kind of green economy to flourish or whatever.
He made a great point where he defended himself because, again, from Bloomberg at the last debate, we're getting these like, oh, you're a communist. Nobody wants communism. And this is, again, like there's this attitude of like the communism will destroy everything. I like how him and Warren really took that point to be like, no, that's a cheap shot. That's a cheap shot. You know it. They're not. The way he said it the best is, I want socialism for everyone, and right now we just have it for corporations, for rich people. Because we do have socialism for rich people. We just don't have it for everyone else. And that's a great point that he made. And that is a big part of like what needs to be explained to people. Like people really think that even in India, they think like this is great for business and it's great for the average person, but it's like even Trump coming in and building these buildings, like a lot of people in my family even will say like, hey man, jobs are jobs, they're bringing in money, like what do you want? It's that kind of mentality, but it is
short-sighted.
It is very short-sighted.
And okay, to Trudeau again, I mean, the Wet'suwet'en process in Tiandiaga, the Global News was covering this, and we'll get on to Global News in a second too.
Okay.
But Global was covering the protesters near Belleville who were being removed being forcibly removed off of the land through the injunctions of the government. So
Yeah.
Trudeau, as much as he's saying we're trying to do the talks, you are also doing this now. And that's OPP. It's OPP, so maybe that's more Doug Ford who's on top of that.
It's interesting though that
But-
that even the global news guy was like, okay, so we have seen 2 arrests, but on their footage from the inside, they're saying there's been 6 arrests, and they're showing a lot more stuff on the inside, whereas on the
Yeah, they're
outside-
live streaming it. They're live streaming everything that's going down.
Wow, we should go. It's like
Which
an
is
hour
kind of the
away.
great thing about social. We forget the good things that happen with social media when it's used as like a tool like that, where you can disseminate your own, like this, we're disseminating our own media. Media has been democratized in a way, which is good. You can see what's actually happening,
which is great.
not
let's
just from the outlets.
let's hope that Facebook is allowing them to live stream, because in other countries they've done a thing where if the
Well,
political
the internet blackouts and stuff like that, but you can't in
Yeah.
Canada. That would be
That's wild.
That's so illegal for them to do that.
yeah, that's
They-
pretty wild.
They can't. They wouldn't be able to get away with it. I mean, maybe they would. Maybe they have. But
It's hard to tell.
outside of getting into deep conspiracy theory, I don't know how to.
Well, I don't know if we have to go into such a deep conspiracy theory. I mean, you showed me a very interesting Instagram post. You want to talk about that? That one? That global
Yeah. Well,
it sounds a little conspiracy-ish, but it's hard to tell, because I mean it. So you
I
just
think
showed
I
me a
sent
post.
it to you. Can you pull that up?
Yeah,
on
you
your
just
phone?
you just showed me a post before we started recording.
Pretty
and-
much, it was someone trying to break down, saying that Global News, which is a Canadian news outlet, has been covering the protests of the Wet'suwet'en, pipeline land treaty disputes with a heavy bias, right, towards
Mhm.
the government, towards industry, towards all that. And then they just kind of did a thing where they were breaking down, okay, well, who owns?
I don't have it. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I think I just looked at it on your phone, and then I thought I sent it to myself. But
I sent it to you, but let me send. I probably sent it on my other phone.
But basically, it was the things breaking down like who owns all of the media in Canada, and how they also own, like, they have heavy pipeline interests. Like, it was someone basically connected Suncor, which is an oil company, and like Global News, Global, and then like basically Chorus owns Global. Wow, now I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's basically like Global Chorus.
No, it was as simple as just following like Wikipedia links, right? It was
Yeah.
It wasn't even that. What's it called? Hidden.
It's
It
crazy
wasn't-
because
it wasn't
real
here.
life
It's
does sound
right
like
here.
a conspiracy, though.
I
Sometimes.
sent it to you from my other.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I said, why is Global News bad at reporting the Wet'suwet'en and the rail blockades? A story in 6 slides. First question, who owns all of Global News across Canada? Chorus Entertainment owns Global News. Click on the Wikipedia link.
They got the
Who owns
Wikipedia link.
Chorus Entertainment? J.R. Shaw and his family. Okay, who's J.R. Shaw? J.R. Shaw sits on the board of directors of Suncor Energy. What's Suncor Energy? Suncor Energy is an integrated energy company based in Calgary, Alberta.
Wow.
There's a production of synthetic crude and oil sands. Suncor ranks. Okay.
Went to the
Okay.
top, right on Instagram.
Google Suncor. Oh, it turns out the family who controls all of Global News cross country is absolutely invested in the tar sands. Now you know why the news doesn't talk about Canada's warming 2 times as fast as the rest of the world, and why they suck ass at reporting on the Wet'suwet'en and the rail blockades. So, I mean, it's as simple as doing that. And I mean, this is another thing that we keep seeing in terms of, why did Trump go to India? Oh, does Trump have a lot of investments in India? Why does he want to strengthen those relationships? Why is it reciprocal for them to promote like a sense of unity and strength between the two countries? As well as India sitting right next to China, being also a very populous country in that region.
Yeah,
Wanting to
fighting Pakistan on the other side too. There's
Mhm.
there's a lot of political alignment there, and it is sad because basically it is a bunch of rich people making their money and convincing everyone with like nationalism and this pride in their religion or their country that what they're doing is a good thing. So even and that connects all of them. Like I think that even though the person you were saying in Canadian Parliament who was yelling at Trudeau,
yeah.
it's very much like she just represents money interests. But as soon as you argue the other side, it's like you're communist or like you don't care about business or you don't care about someone's job. It's
Well,
like,
she represents like working people who have become completely dependent on one industry in that province and the interest of a very particular industry.
yeah,
That's
and-
what the problem is. There's a monopoly on Alberta by the oil and gas industry.
yeah. So
You know?
they create the monopoly.
Wouldn't you
they-
rather diversify and become somewhat more economically independent and a more economically democratic part of the world?
Yeah, you want more options. You
You're
don't
like
want
Saudi
one
Arabia.
option.
You're behaving like Saudi Arabia, Alberta.
Yeah, and they want to Wexit.
And they want to exit.
The Wexit is bad branding too. It sounds like a baby.
And they're trying to get out. They're trying to get
Sounds like a baby
Saskatchewan in
saying
on the
exit.
mix. They're trying to get Saskatchewan in the mix.
They're trying to take Saskatchewan with them.
Yeah, they're trying to take Saskatchewan.
Don't touch
with them.
Saskatchewan. This is where I'm going to say, fuck you. You don't touch Saskatchewan, goddammit. They're speaking French in Saskatchewan, aren't they?
Not really. Some places.
Some places are.
Pockets of Alberta, they are too.
Pockets of Alberta. Okay, cool. No, it is it is sad to see because like your disdain. It's like I have it, but then I'm also just related to them all. Like not them all, but like I'm related to so many conservatives who just as soon as nobody's around, they're like, okay, but bullshitting aside, this Trump's great, right? You don't get that in your family? You're not getting that? That's just one person showing up for you.
Who?
Like for you had like one person showing up and yelling at you for not for being a Bernie Sanders fan. For me,
yeah,
growing
but that
up,
was
it's
different.
like-
But she's like a Democrat who just is like a centrist. This is my mom's friend who's like
Mm-hmm.
a Democrat who's a centrist and would have been a hippie in the 60s from Northern California and
Right,
all that
but-
stuff. But now is like establishment liberal.
You go, yeah. I guess you go like establishment. And you just say like
Like
Bernie,
Chris
what are you
Matthews.
facing?
Chris Matthews was freaking out on MSNBC saying they were going to chop his head off in Central Park.
Like I'm not one
and
to cancel people.
comparing Bernie Sanders supporters to the Nazis taking over like France.
Yeah, straight up,
And
like
stuff
Nazis.
like
Like
that. Bernie
this-
Sanders, who's comes from Holocaust survivors.
it's incredible. Like
Who's-
the guy.
his dad's side of the family perished in the Holocaust,
It-
and you're
it-
gonna say some wild, spicy ass shit like that,
That's some spicy
and then you
shit.
have to apologize for it. And then you have to apologize for it, hat in hand.
I generally
and then
don't wanna
congratulate
cancel.
Bernie.
He had to
And then
congratulate.
congratulate
Did he
him.
congratulate? Did you congratulate him?
He's like, "Congratulations on your win, Senator Sanders. I'm an asshole." Like, yeah, no, he had to have a whole come to God.
but I mean, come on, what are we, communists
He had
now?
to have a save.
Shut
He
up.
had to have a save my job moment.
He did have to have a save my job.
He had to have a save my job moment over that.
I'm not one to cancel people, but like, how about an early retirement push for this guy? He is so out of touch. He's crazy. What he's saying.
Well,
And-
no, he represents a thing, and I think this kind of brings us into what we wanted to talk about next. And you brought it up earlier. Democracy Now! Recently hosted a debate between Paul Krugman, who is a Nobel Prize-winning economist and very popular op-ed writer for the New York Times, and Richard D. Wolff, who's like a YouTube socialist.
who's just
Which is-
famous on YouTube, which is where communists belong, I guess.
yeah, which is cool. He's not a communist. He's a socialist.
He's a socialist. He's no Slavoj Žižek, but he's pretty big in the game.
He's not
I'd say.
communist. I'm not a fan of communists myself. I find they lack a joy for life.
They do. I mean, I've met two in my life, and like they
It's
were
like-
both pretty.
It's like
Unstable.
you know how we find like the Protestant work ethic at its extreme, just to be kind of like soulless and like.
No, it all comes full circle.
It's like oatmeal and like just looking at $100 bill.
yeah.
Just like looking at $100 bill and eating oatmeal and like being like, I'm content.
the work cleansed me.
Communism's like that, but instead of looking at $100 bill, you're looking at like, I don't know, a fucking tool, a utensil that you'd use to fucking use in the garden while you eat your oatmeal.
I mean,
it's the same thing.
it's the same thing. They are like, it is weird how it's like we think it's like. I do agree with the political horseshoe theory, or like that it just comes full circle. Like when someone's too far one way or the other, they end up just sounding exactly the same to me.
Yeah.
Because they have the same like.
Kurt Metzger has the funny line where he says you're too. He's like, if you're too far left or too far to the right, you all end up just hating the Jews.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I would rather go left. I feel like if the left goes out of control, we'll end up with a nanny state. If I think I've said this before, left goes out of control, we get a nanny state. Right goes out of the control, we have a police state. Nanny state better than police state. I will say that. Still not a communist though. Still like I think socialism
No.
makes sense. I like Bernie's line about like we have socialism for rich people. Let's just have it the way it's meant to be for everyone.
But I do agree with Krug. I mean, I went into this thing thinking I would have a little bit of pushback against Krugman. I did read. He wrote a piece in the Times over the weekend,
Okay.
kind of coming out in defense of Bernie, but criticizing him on the front that it's like you can drop the whole socialist thing because that's
Okay.
gonna freak out some people.
That is, yeah.
He was like, it's gonna freak some people out. He's like, I don't care what you call it. I like. It's like no. It's like I do care what you call it. It's like I like what your policies are. I like
Yep.
what you're saying. What you're gonna do. You believe in democracy. You believe in the functions of government. You believe in like the will of the people,
Right.
respecting that. You're not anti-democratic like the current president is.
Right.
However, why do you have to call it socialism?
Yeah, don't
What do
call
you
it
fuck?
socialism.
What are you doing?
Are you stupid? Yeah.
Change
no.
the name.
No, I like how Krugman's argument there is basically like, these people are too stupid. They voted for Trump. Don't say socialism. They'll never understand it. And he's got a point.
He
that?
sees the writing on the wall. He's like, Bernie is the popular candidate amongst voters.
Yeah, and I think Richard
He has the most energy out of anyone else. And then Richard Wolff.
made the counter argument that like, okay, you're gonna, if you don't say it, you're not gonna fully get it though. He's got a point. He's basically saying like, okay, this is very centrist politics, and this is why we end up like this. Because if you think about the left in America, they were supposed to be a workers' rights party. You think that they would be the ones to be like less militaristic, less prison system. But what happens is when you don't stand up for your values, I think on some level, you eventually just become like a populist and you just kind of float with the wind. And I think the Democratic Party has suffered from that for too long. It's been like 30, 40 years of like, hey, man, we won, but like I had to make a bunch of deals with a bunch of sociopaths. And now...
But that's not populism. That's not populism. That's centrism and like
whatever it takes to win.
cynicism and,
whatever.
and being... I love that cynical has become like the word of the moment right now. Everyone's talking about cynicism on the left and the right.
But Krugman's
in terms of
argument
all
is
their
like
place.
that. Krugman is basically saying like these people are too stupid. Just don't call it socialism.
He's being too cynical, you're saying?
I think it's pretty cynical, his view.
No,
and his
but
book
I
is
think,
called Arguing with
I
Zombies.
think what
so
he's saying,
like,
though, and this is an argument that they keep saying against Bernie, which I don't... Okay, because there is the people who say, vote blue no matter who, right? No matter who the Democratic nominee is on the ticket, they're going to take... No, but that works for Bernie as much as it works for Bloomberg, as much as it works for Biden, right? And there are definitely people who are going to vote against Trump, not necessarily for the Democrats. And there's going to be people who are just going to vote blue down the line. However, they're saying that we don't want to turn off suburban voters. And I mean, I don't know, though, because I think the New York Times, the Daily... Or no, it wasn't the New York Times. The New Yorker has a political podcast. And they had this woman on the other day who was saying that people think of millennials as just being like college kids or whatever. Amish is I know he's not in the popular imagination, but Amish, you're a millennial.
Technically, yes.
Amish is technically a millennial.
I think so.
And that's what they're saying. Like, there are millennials who live in the suburbs. Like, these suburban voters you're talking about grew up with a completely different politic than the Gen Xers and the baby boomers who live in the suburbs. They're also out there, and they're also engaged, and they're also ready to vote. They're not getting drunk 5 nights a week, and skipping class. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the millennials at this point are growing up. Like, we've been saying it for 10 years, and I think when we started saying it, they were like 19, and now a lot of them are like 30. And
yeah, I'm almost 30 now. I'm 28. I just turned 28 last week.
That's
2 weeks ago.
That's the next generation. Is basically you just watch it grow up, and they have different values, and I think it always comes to this where it's like as soon as it hurts you, then you vote against it. I guess that's what it takes because
sure,
and that's fine. And that's what it is, I guess. The older establishment, like Chris Matthews, is like, this is the end. This is communist. Like, he's looking at it like this will destroy everything because for him, maybe it will on some level. For him, it does destroy everything because it
is though.
Yeah,
it's your world is coming apart and our world is being formed. That's pretty much what it is. The millennials are starting to take control.
Yeah. It's you see it a lot with real estate prices where.
However, you still need to carry the votes of skeptical things. Because my mom's friend even said, "I'm not going to vote Bernie Sanders because he's a miserable old bastard." That was her.
Come on.
That was her read on him, and I'm kind of just like, what do you mean? You'd rather let Donald Trump remain as the president?
So she's
than
a Trump.
Vote. She's not a Trump supporter. She's a Democrat. But okay, again, we're also
This is where Bloomberg is going to bring the heat, though. This is where I think Bloomberg has a real chance.
Well, Bloomberg just put a bunch of new money into attack ads against Bernie
Big
and
money.
trying to paint Bernie as like a big guns rights supporter as opposed to Bloomberg. Because Bernie is from Vermont and he's respected people's rights for hunting. I personally think that Bernie's stance on guns is going to be an asset in the general election.
Fuck yeah.
Because you cannot paint him as someone who wants to take your guns away from you, right?
Yeah. Whereas Bloomberg's been going hard on that.
Where Bloomberg's been going hard, and that's one of the things that Bloomberg would lose a lot of these swing voters in terms of his policy on guns. Second Amendment people. Bernie, I also think, is like in favor of more gun control. stuff like that. But he's not someone that if you're a Republican, you're going to look at him and be like, oh, he's going to violate my Second Amendment right to have the gun. That kind of narrative is not being, written out for him. So
no, Bernie's the real deal. And like I'm at a point now with Bernie. I never thought I'd say this about a politician. I'm at a point now with Bernie where I'm like, you know what? I'm sure he has got a reasonable position on that. I don't even need to know what it is. It's probably tight. The guy is consistent. He's tight. His morality is there. It's all there across the board. He's amazing. The establishment, the MSNBC, like first they pretend that he didn't win. It's so funny that as soon as he does win, though, Chris Matthews is like, this is like when the Nazis won. Like, it's like, no, he didn't win. And then as soon as he wins, like, well, you know who else won? The Nazis. Like that's their argument. Like they just have to find some argument against him, no matter what. That's why I think Bloomberg does have a chance there, where it's like Bloomberg.
Okay,
Buttigieg, I don't see. Buttigieg just seems like a
Buttigieg. The problem with Buttigieg and Bloomberg, and I think Krugman called both of them zombies too, by saying like they're out of touch. They're not. They're talking about like Krugman. I was actually surprised like watching this Democracy Now! Debate, because I thought Krugman was much more of a centrist. I still think he is to a degree, but he was like, I'm for like running a deficit. I'm for the government spending into a deficit for social programs because it pays off in the long run.
Better than military
foresight.
Better than military. I mean,
well, they already run a deficit. Yeah, the conservatives already run a deficit. They'll spend as much money as they want on other things.
It's like, why don't you build that to me makes sense. This is why I think Bloomberg, like, this is the moment where I was like, okay, Bloomberg could win. Is like we were all watching the debate, and I remember Bernie at one point saying some shit, and I said to you and Dave out loud while we were watching the debate, I was like, say that he's a rich kid. And you and Dave were both like, but Bloomberg is not a rich kid. Like basically during the debate, Bernie Sanders is attacking Bloomberg, and I was like, say that he's a rich kid. And then you guys said he's not a rich kid. Bloomberg is not a rich kid. And when you guys said that, I was like, oh, he could win. Because now we're looking at a billionaire who made everything technically fair and square. And I can say this about my family, like I'm a Patel. We just love the business and stuff. Most Patels that I know, a lot of Americans, and even a lot of friends of ours, they're just not going to see anything he did as wrong then.
That he made his money off of developing this terminal.
They're going to look at him as like he can get it. He knows how to run an organization, and he took it to the top, and he could beat Trump.
But part of the issue, though, I mean, if you look at it and things, this is what a lot of people have problems with, though, right? If you pull it back a little bit, is consolidation of the market, right? Like there's the argument that capitalism can exist where there's an even playing field for people to enter and compete.
Yeah.
Right? If you corner the market and you have all these patents or you have the proprietary claim to all these things that allows you to kind of dominate
the Bloomberg terminal.
Yeah, the Bloomberg terminal. Then how is that really fair capitalism? And also when you make all this money and then Bernie made a great point at the debate last week in Nevada too, where he said, you're a billionaire, but what about all your employees, right? Did they not contribute to that success? No one's a fully self-made person, right? Yeah. I think anyone with a little bit of humility and understanding, and that's like
not anyone.
Voters have a little bit of humility and understanding.
You're giving people a lot of credit
at that level, but everyone
a lot of people are going to look at that
other
and
people
be like,
for their success.
A lot of people are going to look at him and be like, "What do you want? You want him to just give away his business?" Like as your business is accumulating wealth, I think most Americans will look at him and be like,
"But a lot of people don't like the idea that he's trying to buy the election as well, though."
Yeah, the buying the election is a lot.
And
he's gonna get played. He's
gonna
play himself.
You think it's based solely in his like narrative of like how he came up and became the Michael Bloomberg that we now know today. I mean, I think that's part of the story, but I think another part of the story, and maybe even a somewhat more valid part of the story, is what have you done now that you've made all that money, and what are you trying to do going forward, and who do you answer to, and who do you care about? And I think that it's been proven he cares about business interests. I mean, he's trying to like call out Bernie for saying things about Castro. It wasn't all bad with Castro, right?
Yeah.
And when he says it wasn't, I mean, listen, that's not a great soundbite, but it's not that he's saying it wasn't all bad with Castro in terms of, the disappearing of people and like stealing someone's house and murdering them.
Hey, man.
And becoming an authoritarian. Bernie, I think, has acknowledged that a lot of the authoritarian tendencies on the left and the right are all bad. He's not a fan of authoritarianism.
Of course.
Right? And he's going to have to we're saying this just before the debate in South Carolina tonight.
It's going to be interesting tonight.
They're going to bring that up tonight. I can almost guarantee it.
They're
and
gonna
he's
bring
going to
it up.
have to defend his record on that. And he's going to have to say
With Cuba?
with Cuba, with Venezuela, with Nicaragua,
See, again,
with
this
all
is-
these countries. And that's because the problem is that can hurt him in Florida because there's a lot of Cubans in Florida. There's a lot of Venezuelans in Florida. There's a lot of people there who have left because they do not like the way that the government has been going.
Yep.
And that's not, and I mean, part of that you can look at and say, okay, but then those governments struggled and became even more intense and lashed out in part because of aggression from the United States.
Yeah, the United States putting
capital
embargoes on them.
markets.
Putting embargoes on them.
And capital markets and stuff like that, right? So there is that argument to make. But in Bernie saying it's not like the healthcare, it's not all bad. The education, it's not all bad. Sure. I don't see a problem with that. But I think it goes back to Krugman's argument of there's certain ways to form the
debate, the argument.
the argument and the debate on how to convince people to come onto your side and how to
Socialism
do
is
it.
not the word to use.
Yeah, but then there can be other words. I don't know. I just think that as it gets closer to him becoming the nominee, there needs to be a concerted effort to brand outside of just providing social services to people, but not putting socialism writ large. And I don't think that he's a socialist writ large. I don't think he wants to nationalize the entire economy. I don't think he wants to have a planned economy. I don't really think that that is exactly what he wants to do. There's elements to his platform that wants to do that, but he's not saying we're going to shut it all down.
Yeah, I mean, you know what would be a great writing exercise is to just rewrite all of Bernie's like plans and everything with just capitalist terms. I mean, I wonder if that's all it takes is just like, hey, we're going to
Right.
bring in a lot of
Growth.
we're going to bring in a lot of economic growth in the area by
Yeah.
helping large American, like basically, yeah, it does become semantics at some point where you're just like, okay, you're saying you hate communism, so you don't want government health care. So you just got some other sociopath running your health care and fucking you, right? So why don't you just, how can we just tell this person? Krugman's got a great point there. Where he's just like, okay, just take the, he's like, just take the healthcare you have and tell people that it's a capitalist corporation where the dividend payback goes to the American people. You are a stakeholder in the new
Right. Well, that's what Yang was
capitalist-
trying to do. That's a
what
whole
Yang-
Yang.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a Yang.
That's a Yang gang.
It's a Yang ploy.
I love how Yang gang. Yeah. He was saying like we got to give everyone $1,000 a month. He rebranded that as like
the freedom dividend.
freedom dividend
Because it pulled better.
You know what? Krugman is telling Bernie to make Yang Gang vice president. Is that what was happening there?
Maybe that is what Krugman's saying.
That's what Krugman's saying. Like, hey, listen, I agree with all your policies, but you're just not saying it right. So why don't you get Yang Gang on board? He is one of these like tech billionaires who can just kind of rebrand and rewrite everything. Is like, hey man, look, I just want a capitalist healthcare system, a private healthcare system where the dividend owner is you, where the stakeholder is the American citizen, and then you get the profits after the end. That's a good way to put it. Because it really
so you're
does
Yang
become-
Gang. You're a little too late to the Yang Gang, but you're Yang Gang.
No, I was like too early to the Yang Gang.
Okay.
and now Krugman's saying, now after hearing Krugman on Democracy Now, I'm like, you know what?
Now you're your little.
I like the rebranding. I like the rebranding that he's doing. I think Krugman, it is ultimately like a little bit of an elitist argument he's making. And the book is called Arguing with Zombies, and he's calling conservatives zombies. And I agree with all of that. Like I do feel like it is like talking to idiots. Don't even get into the real debate. They're just gonna go. They're just gonna start screaming. They're just gonna lose their mind. I've been yelled at by people our age, being like talking about climate change, and people are like, where are the jobs gonna go? Where's the money gonna come from? Like people they don't see another option. So you almost got to be like, hey, I don't care about the environment.
Yeah.
I care about making a financial investment into the profitability long term of the oil, something like that. Babe. Put
Well, there's
profit
people-
in it. Put the word profit in
They
it
say
a lot.
one
Put
thing.
the word.
They say one thing that could hurt Bernie is the total ban on fracking because the industry has a lot of people working in it in Michigan and Pennsylvania, and that could alienate some of the blue collar voters that he needs to pick up in order to take back the presidency, right? For the Democrats. However,
How do we rebrand it?
However, I think that if you can rebrand it in terms of the kind of money that you're getting right now in that industry, we're going to transfer that same kind of salary thing into a federal position for you in the Green New Deal and green energy within your state. But come up with a solid plan with that.
Say ROI. Say ROI.
No, don't say ROI. No,
say,
no.
Say 20% more ROI.
You're getting two YouTube gurus scamming on this.
You're
getting two YouTube girls scamming.
Say,
on this.
you're on oil fracking.
You're doing some Sam
Green
Ovens
energy
shit.
ROI's through the
You're
roof.
doing some Sam Ovens on this.
Why am I doing Sam Ovens? No, I'm doing
no
Krugman.
ROI.
I'm doing Krugman.
Krugman's not saying that.
Drop the socialism. Tell him that there's ROI in it.
Yeah, but I think that there's a way to do that. And there's a way to just kind of say that.
No, but I literally think that it is true.
You're gonna get more. You're gonna get your money's worth when you pay your taxes.
100%.
You'll pay higher taxes, but you're gonna get your money's worth. Don't let the taxes be the thing that freaks you out. All right.
Yeah, even with environmental stuff, all this capitalism, it only like they're doing it. I feel like on the right they do all that rebranding. I mean, look at how even with something like with the anti-abortion, they called it pro-life. See how they rebrand? Like they even with all the socialism.
But they
stuff,
didn't call it pro-abortion. They called it pro-choice as well. Right?
But that's a left-wing, I think, comeback.
I know,
think.
but everyone does the rebranding. I just think that there needs to be a concerted effort to appeal to those voters, those Democratic voters right now, who are getting freaked and are like gonna be like, oh, maybe we don't vote, maybe we go Republican. I mean, I hope that it's the blue no matter who ethos that carries on. But
right now we don't need blue. Right now we need Sanders, and then we need that blue no matter who to kick in after that. Because if we start kicking in blue no matter who, and Bloomberg takes it, then you're gonna be pissed off at the blue no matter who.
Oh no, of course. But I'm saying if that's enough, if there's enough blue no matter who to just push him through regardless, or if there's gonna need to be that concerted appeal that gets the kind of like, milquetoast suburban Mississauga, Calgary, Alberta,
right,
dead inside, looking at $100 bill with their oatmeal.
You got to rebrand for them. You got to give them the ROI.
You got to give them
say,
something.
hey, the ROI is in socialism, guys. I mean, sorry, did I say social? I mean, the ROI is in don't say government. The ROI is in an organization where you are the dividend stakeholder. That's the kind of rebranding.
You're yanging it up, though. He's not going to yang it that much. Yang needs to come through with that endorsement, by the way.
Where's Yang's endorsement for Bernie?
Yang's become a CNN commentator. Have you seen that?
Okay.
Yang's securing the bag.
Hey, he's got a lot of debt to pay off, I bet.
No, he's fine.
Oh yeah, you think he fundraised all of it? Because when he talks about
you have to fundraise it. Yeah.
When he talks about
Donations.
going into the race, he was saying like, okay, I had to leave. He's got to leave his job. He's got to leave.
But he's an entrepreneur. He's always going to land on his feet. No, he's.
Yeah, but I think this is how. I think
he's
this
a highly achieving
he's switching
person.
over to a CNN correspondent.
Well, no, he wants to be in politics. They're saying he might try to run for New York, for mayor of New York in 2 years now.
I think Bernie Sanders, head of branding for Bernie Sanders. I think that could be Yang's. He could really sell it. He sold them all on Fox News.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. He could be. I think he'd be a great asset to the Sanders campaign. Marianne Williamson, she just came through for Bernie. I'd like to see Steyer drop out after Saturday and endorse Bernard fully. I'd like to see Tulsi drop out, and inevitably, I'd like to see, as I've said before, Warren, come to God, come back to God.
Warren is really
drop out. Although she's doing some great work at the debates, beating down Bloomberg.
Oh, that was great. Where she's like, "Oh, sign the paper." What was the thing she said to Bloomberg?
Release them from their NDAs.
Release.
And he's released 3 women from their NDAs.
So what we're talking about is like they're basically sexual assault, sexual abuse NDAs in his organizations.
No, it was like harassment.
Harassment. Sorry, not assault. Yeah. But how many are we talking about? 3 out of...
I saw a number that said it was like 64.
64. So 3 out of 64. They really booed him hard. I mean, she's got a point. It's like, just you have hundreds of billions. Just let him go. Who cares?
No, and he dropped 20 points after that debate. It hurt him. So just keep hurting him. I appreciate that. We all appreciate that.
Warren's doing a good job on that front. But any kind of Warren against Bernie, it's like, it's embarrassing and just stop. Mm-hmm. It's so sad. And it just backfires on her so hard. How many points did she drop when she tried that whole thing? Did she drop points?
I think she did drop a bit. Well, she dropped a bit starting in like the fall.
To me, it's like that's what, and correct me if I'm wrong because you know the numbers better, obviously, hazy on the facts. But it seems like that attack on Bernie that she did, that's what kind of dropped her down to everyone else. Because before it seemed like it was Warren and Bernie, and then her shitty attack on Bernie is what just dropped her out. Like, just brought her down to like the 10, 12, while Bernie's going up to 24, 25 numbers. So that's too bad for her. That sucks. But I think Bloomberg is still. So you're saying he dropped 20 points. So what's his number at then? What's Bloomberg at right now? Is he not second place?
He's third. He's
third.
But
So
he dropped. He dropped like 20. I don't know if it was percentage points nationally. It was. He did do a drop though. It was like 20 something. He did a drop.
Yeah, everyone's roasting him pretty hard, and even the article you sent me, like the New Yorker article, like they're roasting him pretty hard, and it's
Well, he just had a bad showing, but I mean that's subject to change. Maybe something happens tonight. The optics on him.
who knows?
shift.
Yeah, he could be learning. It's his
But-
first debate after 10 years. His first
Yeah,
debate
that
was the last
first
one.
after 10.
So now this one, I think he's gonna bring the heat on it a little bit.
They're gonna go after Bernie and try to paint him as like a tyrannical communist.
This whole Nazi.
But he's gonna. But he
Chris
knows
Matthews
that.
is doing
But
Nazi
I feel like
and
Bernie's gonna
communist.
know that going in, and he's gonna be ready to defend against it. So
No, Bernie's
let's see.
tight. He's always there.
We'll see.
I feel like the Bloomberg attacks, like the article you sent me, even other attacks, a lot of the Bloomberg attacks are like, you're just a billionaire who doesn't care. And I don't know if that. I think that's only an attack in our circles. I think with the average person, they're like, oh, so he just got all
No,
this shit
I
done.
think a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people
Okay.
don't like that. There's a lot of pushback on the super wealthy.
On
It's
just
just been a
being-
general trend over the past decade.
It's just
Yeah.
been like, I feel like last
If
5,
you look
10
at, we
years, yeah.
started the decade with Occupy Wall Street, and now we could be ending it with a Bernie Sanders presidency, right?
Well, even Richard Wolff said this, where he's like, we're in like a so in the Richard Wolff Paul Krugman debate that we watched, Paul Krugman saying stop saying socialist. Richard Wolff was making the argument that like we are in a saying socialist world. Keep saying it, put it in their heads. It's not a big deal. Like
right.
he's
and
got
I,
an
and
interesting
I would
point.
say socialist to some, say something else to others. But Amish, we got to wrap because
gotta wrap it.
we got some things to do. Anyway, that's been our show.
Thanks for
Let's come
watching.
to an understanding. Thank you for listening, watching. Plugs.
Just follow my Instagram. I got lots going on. I got the
Follow
Canadian.
follow the podcast Instagram if you're not.
Follow the podcast Instagram
At
at
Understanding
Understanding Pod.
Pod.
Follow me at Fade to Brown. I have the Canadian Screen Awards coming up March 24th. I got nominated for best script. I forget what it is exactly. Got the email this week. It's a lot to
But it is a
process.
nomination.
I got a full nomination this time, unlike
Wow.
last time where they applied for me to get an Emmy a couple of years ago, daytime.
Applied to get a nomination.
They applied,
Yeah.
didn't get the nom. I was an applicant 2018, but 2020 I am a nominee for a writing award
That's
at
great.
the Canadian Screen Awards. And the next time we do this, I'm going to have all that in front of me so I can tell you about it. But follow my Instagram at Fade to Brown. My stories, I talk about all that. It's going to be a very fun road to the CSAs.
Okay,
I'm calling it.
and I have my show at Lalo Brewery, 1144 College Street here in Toronto, College and Dufferin.
Very sexy.
Every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. Great Trinidadian food from Young Animal. Great craft breweries brewed in-house. So check that out if you're in the city. That has been our show. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Let's come to an understanding. 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 Let's come to an understanding.